I'm Tina. I am with Mimi's Happies here in Pensacola, Florida, and I get asked all the time to please do a video just so everyone can say, oh, how do you do that? How did you make it look like that? What steps did you take? And all of that fun stuff. So this is going to be a primitive piece, and I've had a couple of, oh, what are you going to do with that? So the answer to the question is, I really don't know. I never know what I'm going to do with the piece until I'm actually doing it, and then the piece kind of tells me what it's going to allow me to do for it. So my plan is to keep it rustic or primitive. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to stain it because I want it to be darker. I had to sand off a lot of stuff that came out of a barn, so I don't want to waste it. I don't want to throw it away. It's a beautiful piece. So I'm going to stain it, and then I'll come back and put some paint on it. Now, normally I use Wise Owl glazes to stain my pieces because they work really well, then they dry quickly, and I can paint them and manipulate them to do what I want to do. But today, this is not quite dark enough, and I'm afraid that it wouldn't quite absorb enough, so I'm going to use a stain. And then after the stain, I'm going to come in and I'm going to use this beautiful tourmaline, and then I'm going to distress it, maybe scrape it with, a sharp object. I'm not really sure. So again, I never really know what I'm going to do until it's time to do it. So let's get started. I'm not going to make you watch all of it, and we'll come back to it so you don't have to watch because it's got to dry. So the first thing that I'm going to do, well, that's great. I had a brush. What did I do with the brush? You got to have a method of applying said stain. And I don't know what to do. There it is. Okay, so for stains, what I typically like to use is just one of these cheap little throwaway brushes from, I get them at Harbor Freight usually because they're super cheap, and then I don't mind. And then typically what I do is I wipe the excess off with this rag or a rag. But I'm not going to do that today because I want it to soak in. So just so that you guys can see what I'm doing, I'm just going to get a little bit on there, and I'm just going to slather it on there. And I'm not going to wipe it. I'm just going to do it enough that it's not going to drip, because then when it drips, it's not going to stain evenly. And then you'll have spots that just look like you did something to the piece. And we never want that. We want it to look, either shabbied or, I want to preserve the integrity of all the years sitting in a barn gave it. So all I'm doing is just going over it with this, and it's a little bit thick because this wood is super dry and I want it to drink up the stain. So you can kind of see it. I'm not really worried about the little crevices because when I'm done with it, if I don't think it looks primitive enough, then I'll put some dark glaze in there. Ooh, but let me get that, because if it runs, then it's going to be a real irritant. So you can see just in all of the grooves, because I want it all to be uniformly dark. This is what I call the base. Once it's uniformly stained, then I'm just going to put some paint on it, but we'll get to that. So right now, all I'm doing is just putting a little stain on there. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just want it to be fairly uniform, because like I said, if you don't, then your stain will be splotchy and you won't like how it looks. And I'm not super worried about the hardware because I'm going to take a wire brush to it to kind of eat off some of the dust. So I'm just going to slap this on everywhere that I went. Super easy. If you're concerned with your surroundings, then you may want to wear an apron or put down some plastic or something to make it a little safer. This stuff is fairly thick, so I'm not really worried about it dripping, and I'm not leaving enough of it on there that I need to worry about that. So I'm just getting it, I'm just putting it on there, super easy. I can do it, you can do it, we can all do it. It is so easy. The fumes on this, they're not super bad, So you can actually, I am doing it indoors at my shop without any ventilation. So it just depends on how sensitive you are. Some people have allergies and then this would give them a headache. And so you just kind of do it wherever it works for you. Everybody's different. And I'm just putting it on here, and I love the dark, almost chocolatey tones that it gives it, but a little bit of red. It's very subtle. And I'm just putting it on here. I'm gonna go over here. I've already cleaned it and sanded because, like I said, it had years of barn stuff on it. I'm pretty sure it had rat poop and all kinds of other interesting things. So I did sand it. And what I'm doing now is not really gonna take away from the integrity of the piece, because this bad boy's in fairly rough shape. So he's gonna continue to be a primitive piece. Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. All right, so let's just kind of finish up with this. And then, probably in about 20 minutes when I feel like it's dried enough, because this stuff does dry pretty quickly, then I'm gonna come back and we'll get a little bit more recording of the painting of the base. And just wait until y'all see how easy it is. It's so much fun, it's so easy. The beauty of shabbying, which is what I call it, the beauty of shabbying everything is that it doesn't have to be perfect. You literally can just slap it on there. There's no mistakes. If you don't like something, you just paint over it. If you don't like the color of the stain, then you don't even necessarily have to sand it. Some professional people are like, oh no, you gotta sand, you gotta blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I don't subscribe to that. I feel like you do whatever works for you. For me, it's I like to clean it because then, you know, it may not, whatever your medium you're using is not gonna stick. If you haven't cleaned it, yeah, it's gonna crackle, it's gonna peel. It's gonna look like you didn't clean it, and whether you're selling it or keeping it, you don't want that look. So you just clean with whatever works for you. A lot of times I use the hydrogen peroxide Lysol, and it works great. Stinks. Oh my, does it stink. And the older the piece of wood, and depending on where it has come from, you will swear it is covered in crapola. But I have come to the conclusion after doing multiple pieces that that's just the smell of wood and hydrogen peroxide. They do not like each other, but they clean. I like it because it's natural. I don't like to use chemicals. I'm in a historic building and they don't want to smell the fumes. So, so basically I just clean with whatever works for me. And then I just kind of check. You see, I'm just checking for little drips just to make sure that I get all of them. And then all I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna let this suck up the gel stain. And it is gonna be really pretty. And you're gonna think to yourself, oh, she just totally changed it, it's not primitive. Yes, it is, it is. This is a process, and as we move along with the videos, you'll see that it stages. Things have to cure, they have to harden. You can't just slap 10 different coats of paint on. It's gotta sit. So that's why you may notice my clothes will change and my face may change, and sometimes my hair changes. Although I'm pretty much a creature of habit, I like it to be out of the way because I've gotten paint and stain and all kinds of crap, and then patients are like, oh my gosh, do you have lice? No, it's paint. So, so we're gonna take a little break right here, and then we'll come back to it and put some more paint on it and start distressing it. I've already put a coat of 1 hour enamel, the white on the top, because I wanted it to be curing, because I'm gonna sand it. So I wanted it to have a little base. So we'll look at that later so you can kind of see. But basically, people, what I want you to know is that there's no, as long as you start from the bottom and you work your way up, you can make a piece look however you want it to look. And you can do whatever you want. There are no mistakes in shabbying a piece of furniture. It's whatever you like, and you just keep working at it until you like it. Sometimes I paint a piece 6 times. That vanity was just, I had it for 8 months and was like, OMG, am I ever gonna love it? And the answer was yes. once I started working on it for real, because it was sold and I had to, then I actually got it to where I really loved it. So that's the thing of it. Do what you love what you do. You cannot mess it up, and I'll see you in a little bit. Thanks so much.